Tua throwing this side of the field, wide open at the 25-yard line. The pass is caught by Tyreek Hill. And it's good. Well, thus far today, the Patriots have shown no problem with moving the football, and is under the gun here and goes down. Emmanuel Ogbah, 9 sacks to his credit a season ago. Tua, quick pass, that's complete. This is Edmonds again in the backfield. Tua still has it. Throws
just
over the
being
middle
able to finish off these drives.
On 2nd and 10. On the blitz, loose ball inside the 5 to the end zone. 1st and 15 for Miami. That pass down the side, it is grabbed by Tyreek Hill. The Dolphins are going to play it.
Yeah, I think I don't know if I really love this decision.
Over the middle, got his man, and look at him go! Jalen Waddle for the touchdown! By the Patriots. Tua going to throw this side, complete. And breaking play, Tyreek Hill. Here's Jason Sanders from 49 yards out. On its way, and stuck it inside the upright.
Well, you know what? It was a great day on Sunday. It was at the stadium. Having a good time. Take the glasses off so I don't get the shining in my eyes here. Rodney, I know that you got a lot to talk about, and there is a lot to talk about. The game was great. The defense, for the most part, saved the day. The offense scored 13 points. The team as a whole, we scored 20. Last year, our scoring average was 20.2 points a game. So we're right on our average with this highfalutin offense we're supposed to have. Your thoughts? I'll open it up to you. Tell me what your thoughts are on the whole, everything.
Well, like you said, a win is a win. It was a nice way to start the season. It always is when you can beat Belichick and the Patriots. I thought Tua was efficient. Threw for 270-something yards. I think usually when a quarterback throws for 270-something yards, you're thinking he's going to get 2 or 3 touchdowns. But, we didn't need it. He protected the ball. I think he needs to, work on his pocket presence a little bit. But otherwise, I think he played great. The run game was a little bit slow, but then it kicked up a little bit later, just enough to keep the defense, honest and aware that we have guys that can make plays out of the backfield.
I'm glad you brought that up, though. Not to cut you off, but I want to go back to the run game because I'm sitting there. I'm with John, and we're missing him today. He's a little under the weather. In the fourth quarter, with under 7 minutes to go in the game, we should have just kept pounding the ball on the ground. As you said, the running game was finally starting to work because – the Patriots, they're standing over there in a hot sun all day because we built the stadium to do that to them. And you could tell they were winded. We were finally starting to get some decent runs, and you can chew up the clock, and we kept going back to the pass. Now, I understand earlier in the game, you want to mix it up. But why, when we need to run out the last 7 minutes, are we continuing to mix it up? I didn't understand that.
In some years past, we complained that the fans complained that we're too conservative at the end of the game. We should go for the jugular. And this is just the time it should have been the opposite. We had a win. It was pretty much lock, stock, and barrel. And I know I was texting you during that fourth quarter when you were at the stadium, and I just couldn't believe we were continuing to throw the ball. I'm thinking we're going to go to the well one too many times, and it's going to hurt us. But, kudos to Mike McDaniel. He isn't afraid to take a chance. Where coaches in the past wouldn't do that. And the guy's a lot more brilliant than I think anyone's given him credit for. Every move in that game, for the most part, was very strategically planned. And I'll give you an example. They fired the ball to Tyreek Hill, right out of the gate, consistently. And Jalen Waddle just sat back in the wings waiting for his chance. And I think just when they thought we weren't going to go to anybody but Tyreek, we start going to Jalen Waddle, and look what he made 3 defenders, look silly in that touchdown catch. It was a brilliant strategy, if you ask me.
Well, I got to be honest with you. This is going to be the funniest part of the show because he made me look silly. I'm sitting in that end zone where the Dolphins were headed. Okay. Yeah. All of the plays, for the most part, were happening down there in our end zone. The interception early in the game that stopped the Patriots' first drive, the strip sack and recovery by Melvin Ingram, that happened right down in our end. Well, I don't know what happened. I guess I got it in my head that it was 4th down. And I looked down on the field. I looked over at John. We weren't really paying that much attention because we were looking at the clock. We're like, there's 30-something seconds ready. We both got to go to the bathroom. We're dreading the walk down the stairs to get to the tunnel so we can go to the bathroom. We're dreading the line we got to go stand in. And I looked down on the field, and right around the 10 or the 12, somewhere in there, there's a Patriot player down on the field. So I'm thinking, yeah, we punted. There's an injury. Let's go to the bathroom, get halftime started, and we'll be okay. So we go to the bathroom. We come out of the restrooms, and the stadium erupts. And I'm like, wow. And I knew it was a cheer for us, so something good happened. I'm like, well, we got a turnover. How did we get the ball back so quick? Blah, 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 blah. And then I come to find out that we went for it on the 4th down. So I completely had a brain fart in the middle of a game, and I thought we punted. It was a player down, and then I'm looking at John, I'm like, how the fuck did we get? I'm like, how did we get the ball back? But it was, it was a great play. We saw the replay on the TVs. Great play. Waddle, he caught that in between the defenders and then threaded the needle and got out of there and took off. Yeah, as a matter of fact, they said that they clocked him. I forget what the speed was, like 20.8 or 20.3. Actually, I think he was 20.3 and Tyreek Hill had a 20.8. So Jalen Waddle was number 5 in the league, because this is like a new thing they're doing, is clocking their speed. He was number 5 in the league for the week. Tyreek had the number 10 fastest clock time out of the weekend. But all right, so you mentioned we talked about the running game. You mentioned the defense and the defense needing a little bit more, work on the run game. But that seems to be anything that the Patriots did up the middle, we stuffed that for the most part.
Yeah.
It was when they got out around the edge.
Yeah.
We had a little trouble with that, and we shouldn't have that kind of trouble because we've got the speed to catch up to those guys on the edge.
Exactly.
So tell me what your overall what's your overall feeling of the defense in general? Because I also felt like we really missed Byron Jones. Missed him.
We absolutely missed him. Nick Needham was the most picked on corner of the day, and I think he gave up something like 80-something yards. And they said that they only went Xavier Howard's way one time, which was during the interception. I thought they threw his way more than that. Maybe it didn't come close to where he was at, but we definitely missed Byron Jones. But I'll tell you, who is Kader Kuhu, the undrafted cornerback from Texas A&M Commerce? 18 snaps, 3 tackles, 1 forced fumble, and 1 pass block. Pretty good debut for an undrafted rookie. And that kid is fired up. I never even heard of him until I heard that he was active for the game. They said he had a good preseason, but I never even heard his name mentioned.
I had never even heard his name. I'm looking down there. John and I are looking at each other. I'm like, who's this?
Kid, fiery, boy. He's fiery. He's all over the place. And you know who the most pissed off Miami Dolphin player is right now? Noah Igbenogany, because this was his last shot to get to play. The way this kid played, Igbenogany's not going to be active this week either. No. And, here's the thing. When it comes to Igbenogany, he's had his chances. And I'll give him some kudos. He has had some great plays. He's come through for us at times. But the times that he hasn't come through for us have outweighed the times that he's come through. And he's just not picking up the pro game.
I think he was. I mean, we drafted him. We drafted him in the second round. We had to think highly of him in order to do that.
Yeah.
But he's just not a playmaker, and I don't know if he's at the speed of the game. Just he can't catch up to it, or what it is. But we've said this before. He'll make a great play, and he'll follow it up with one of the worst plays you've ever seen. I saw him absolutely get twisted around like a ballerina several times last year.
Yeah. Seems like the plays that he really shines at are when it doesn't count, like in preseason.
Yeah. And the plays that he shines on, while he makes a good play, he's not making an impact.
Yeah, you're right.
You know, he's not getting a turnover. He's not getting a tackle for loss. It's just he makes a great play on the ball. He bats it down, or he prevents the guy from catching it. So, he's looking to be on the outside and looking back in and going, damn, I had an opportunity to be with potentially a great team. We've got a lot of stuff, but you look at this highly touted offense, and we go out, we get Tyreek Hill. We already had Jalen Waddle. We already had Mike Gesicki, and all of that talk about, Gesicki not being the guy because he can't run block. Well, the dude played most of the damn game, and he's the starter. So enough with the trade rumors, enough with the BS about Gesicki. He's here to stay. I think Mike McDaniel loves this kid. All right. And we know as fans, we all love him, as he's fantastic. So here's where I see some problems. I see problems still on the offensive line. Now, I know that offensive line for the most part is very new. McDaniel has said that him and the other coaches, they have decided that they're going to roll with whatever unit that they've put together and make these guys learn to play with each other. That's the only way that it's going to happen. If you keep, take this guy out, plug another guy in, take this guy out, plug another guy in, you keep changing and doing musical chairs, the offensive line is not going to gel at all. So I think, and John Garente just said fins up. Thank you, John. Yeah, great to have you listening. And ask any questions you want. We'll see our best to answer them. But I think that I like the philosophy of keeping the offensive line intact, barring an injury. Okay. But, and we talked about this last week. I said I thought Austin Jackson had his head together and was going to do a great job over there on the right side at right tackle. And he had pretty much a lackluster day. Yeah.
I mean, in general, I think they played decent for a first time with a new offensive coordinator. But you're right. You have to keep the same five guys if possible, or you're never going to get continuity. You're never going to get an offensive line where this guy knows what this guy's going to do on this side. It's just not going to work. And I'll give kudos. I was wrong last week. Connor Williams actually had the fourth highest grade last week of any player in the NFL on a new team, and he was the highest graded center. So kudos to him. He did an excellent job last week.
And that's the thing. I have the subscription to PFF. I did not, because I'm on my laptop because I'm traveling. I'm down here. I'm flying back tonight, so I didn't pull up any of the statistics. As a matter of fact, I don't know if anybody can tell, but I pretty much just woke up. It's been that kind of week. But I'll tell you, I gotta throw a plug out to anybody that's listening, watching, or watches later on. There is a brand new restaurant down here. It's a Brazilian steakhouse. It is over on Sunrise Boulevard across the street from the Galleria Mall. Lasso Gaucho, and it is phenomenal. So if you're a fan of Texas de Brazil or any of those other restaurants, or several of them, the Brazilian steakhouses, this one, Lasso Gaucho, it blows them all away. It is absolutely fabulous. So shout out to Lasso Gaucho. Maybe we'll get that down in the ticker as well. And I'm sure Antonio will appreciate that. Rodney, let's come back to the special teams.
Okay.
John and I I'm trying to remember. It was who fielded the first punt? It was
Patriots got the ball first.
It was Holland. On that first punt that we fielded, it was Holland, and he called for a fair catch at the 7.
And then later on, he called for a fair catch somewhere, I think even closer, like around the 4 or the 5. I mean, if you can have a guy back there just to call fair catches, you could put anybody out there and not risk injury to a key guy like that. But
and not only that, but you don't call a fair catch inside the 10. Okay, no. You take your chances and walk and go away from the ball and hope that because John even looked at me. He says, "What the hell is he doing?" That was a driving punt. Yeah. Now, granted, they had the defenders were down there. They may have been able to down the ball.
Yeah.
So I kind of understand. He's like, well, if I let it go, we could end up with the ball at the 1. Better to have the ball with a fair catch at the 7. But like John said, he's like, that ball was really a driving punt, and it probably would have gone through the end zone.
Yeah.
And the Patriots probably were not going to be able to field that. Now, that's something that we're able to see a little bit better because we're not in the game. We're not down there on the field where it's going, 100 miles an hour.
True.
And it's easy for us to point out that type of stuff. It's easy for the coaches to come back this week in practice and preparation for Baltimore and say, no, just let it go. If they make a play on it and they down it at the 1, kudos to them. Okay. But we're not going to give them that. We're not going to give ourselves up and start at the 7. Your thoughts?
Yeah. I mean, it's one of those things that, like you said, we're not down on the field. We don't see what's going on. It's just it's a guessing game. It's just playing Russian roulette. You catch the ball at the 7 or you let it go and hope that it goes into the end zone. I guess it's one of those things. It's like, whatever it feels like at the time you're about to catch it. If you got that feeling that it's going to go and, they're going to be able to down it inside, the 5 or the 4 or at the 1, take the catch. It's really one of those things you don't know until you're about to get the ball because you don't know how fast the special teams guys are coming down the field. If they're going to level you, if you try to run with it and then cause a fumble and then there they are, 1st and goal. It's just one of those judgment calls.
And I want to jump away from talking about the Dolphins. I mean, this is DolFan Radio, DolFan TV. Mm-hmm. Obviously, that's the team that we cover. But I want to talk about the speed of the game, and I want to talk about one of the biggest assholes in the game. Sorry for my French, okay? But that would be Aaron Rodgers. Excuse me. Aaron Rodgers had a complete meltdown in that loss to Minnesota. Now, we all know it's week 1. We don't want to lose. You never want to lose. But you lose in week 1, there's still 16 games left to play. Mm-hmm. The Packers are a good team. Aaron Rodgers is a good quarterback. I'll give him that. He's one of the best quarterbacks ever. But do you want to know my opinion of why he has not won more Super Bowls? Because he's a selfish asshole. Yeah. He had a meltdown over his young receivers. One of the kids played at Nevada, for Christ's sake. Okay? You go from high school to college, it's 10 times faster. You go from college to pro, it's 20 times faster.
Oh, yeah.
This is the kid's first game. And I understand the pass, one of the passes that he dropped, and he ran a wrong route and stuff like that. One of the passes that he dropped, it came right into the breadbasket. But the game is going so fast that you don't have you got to get acclimated
to the speed
in your mind so that it just becomes natural. You're trying to stare that ball down and think too much. And I know what he did. He was making the run after the catch before he actually caught the ball, and it bounced right off his hands. I mean, it was an easy catch. I get that. But for Rodgers, a seasoned veteran, to have the meltdown that he did, you could see the disgusted look on his face on the field. He's rolling his eyes. He's pissed. I get being pissed, but you tanked yourself for the rest of that game, Aaron.
Yeah. No, you're right.
So that brings us to the speed that we were talking about, and we saw that happen in the game on Sunday against the Patriots. Now, I'm going to tell you this. I've been down here at Hard Rock Stadium almost every game last year. The Buffalo game, the Colts game. Even I'll go as far as to say even like the Texans game. Okay. There were more fans for the opposing team than there were Dolphins fans. The stadium, for the most part, was empty, even on opening day, the home opener week 2 last year against Buffalo, where we got absolutely throttled. The atmosphere this year, and it's got to be the Tyreek factor, but the atmosphere this year, that stadium was rocking, and it was full of Dolphin fans.
I know. I saw it on TV. You could hear it on TV.
God, it was so loud, and the people were banging on the seat backs and screaming and yelling. I mean, it brought back memories of the Orange Bowl.
Yeah.
And the only thing I'm still going to say, though, is I miss the Orange Bowl because I miss that steel floor and stomping on that thing because that made more noise than anything. You know, I remember the days of Shula coming out at the 50-yard line telling us to all be quiet, and that just made us, even louder. We had that atmosphere. Even John commented on that. We had that atmosphere on Sunday. And you said you could tell from just watching it on TV, you could tell the difference in the atmosphere and the fans?
Oh, yeah. You heard the crowd noise on TV. You saw people getting up out of their seats. I saw plenty of people, banging on the backrest of the seat in front of them. Yeah. You could tell that people were fired up. And, you got a guy like Tyreek Hill who's very emotional, very fired up. He just gets them fired up. And you saw a lot of number 10 jerseys in the stands.
It was all over the place. Now, I got to tell you something funny. I think, did I send you the picture? John looked up, and of course, John's former offensive lineman, and he looks up before the game. We're sitting outside of the team store, and he looks up, and there's a Richie Incognito jersey.
Yeah, you said that. Yeah.
And the guy's wife, or I don't know which one. I can't remember. But so you got the Incognito jersey, and a person with him or her had the Martin jersey. So it was Incognito and Martin. It was the funniest.
Yeah, you'll see that again. That was just perfect timing. I can't even believe someone wore an Incognito jersey there.
Well, and to have it paired with a Martin jersey? Are you kidding me?
That is just funny. I should post that picture. Everyone will get a kick out of that.
It would be great. That was the highlight of the day for us, and that happened before the kickoff. So, hang on a second, Rodney. I want you to go ahead and tell us your overall assessment of the team on Sunday, both sides of the ball, and give us a little bit of a break. We're going to come back to it later after we do the fantasy section, but give us a little bit of a breakdown of what you see in the matchup coming up this week at Baltimore.
Okay, as far as last Sunday goes, the overall team, offensively, I think Tua played a really, really good game, and this is the third offense he's had to learn in 3 years. So, give him a lot of credit for that. He protected the ball well, didn't make stupid throws. That was a very risky but gutsy throw to Waddle in triple coverage, but McDaniel called it, and it panned out. The offensive line, like you said, I think is still like a work in progress. They got to gel. They got to, mesh as a unit. But now Austin Jackson and Teron Armstead are both questionable with injuries for this week. So we could be tested severely against the Baltimore pass rush that no matter who's out there, when they put the Raven uniform on, their pass rush and their defense in general is usually pretty good. So that could be a huge test for us there.
Well, again, though, and I know that, and this is what's, I think, a little bit strange, or not strange, but a little unfair. And I wish that the NFL didn't make the teams put out the injury report, because the injury report actually, the other team doesn't care. The other team's probably really not even paying attention to it, to be honest with you. Okay. Yeah. They're game planning for whoever your starters or supposedly going to be. Now, if you come out and you say Tyreek Hill, or I don't even want to jinx it him. Let's say you come out and you say any particular player has a torn ACL. Well, duh, everybody on the planet knows that kid's not going to play.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly.
So then you game plan accordingly. But other than that, the injury report is for fantasy football and Las Vegas.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking about the Raiders. I'm talking about the gamblers. It's for the guys that are going into the sports book and they're like, well, so-and-so, he's questionable. He's got 50-50 chance of playing. It changes how they approach the betting aspect of the game. It doesn't have anything to do with the actual game on the field or what the coaches are planning, unless a guy like a Tyreek Hill is absolutely out of the game. And when you come back to we go to the injury reports and you see an offensive lineman on there as questionable, I think an offensive lineman every week, every offensive lineman is questionable because they're getting hit every single play.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay, these are guys that are banged up. Take it from John. These are guys that are banged up every single week.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, they're the blood and guts guys down in the trenches, up, down, wear and tear on their knees, getting pushed around by guys the same size as them. They're not, these guys aren't very mobile, so it doesn't take much to catch them off balance. So yeah, they take a beating, but that's why you get paid the big bucks. Sometimes you got to suck it up and go through it.
And they usually do. They usually do. Those big guys up front, they're going to suck it up. So, to have the fan base all panicked, Teron Armstead, he's going to be out this week because he's hurt. No, he's probably not going to be out. He's probably going to play. And they're just limiting him in practice because they don't want to make it any worse than it already is.
Yeah.
But it's one of those injuries. It's one of those things that as an offensive lineman, he's going to deal with. He's dealt with it his whole career. So I don't know. I just kind of wish maybe that they could change the reporting of the injury status a little different. Instead of saying that a guy is questionable, let's just say we limited him, because you see this all the time. He was limited in practice.
Yeah.
Because and everybody knows we limited him in practice because we didn't want to take a chance of him getting a stupid practice injury and then missing the season or some significant time. So here's my take, and we'll go into our fantasy segment after this, and then we'll come back and we'll wrap it up with what we think is going to happen on Sunday. And I'm gonna forewarn everybody, my prediction for Sunday is not good. I'm gonna lay it out there now so everybody knows. Here's what I saw on Sunday. The fan base was great. The atmosphere was fantastic. The team was okay. They got the job done, but I look at it a little bit more. I don't think they executed the game plan exactly the way that they needed to. The defense saved the day at the end of the day. They saved the day by making the big plays, but they also gave up some big plays. And when the offense only scores 13 points, I'm sorry, but that ain't going to cut it. Okay. Tua, while he did not make any mistakes that showed up statistically, there were a few throws that he should have thrown them away. He tried to force it a couple of times. And there was one that I thought was absolutely going to be a pick. It wasn't going to be a pick six, but it was going to be an interception. And luckily, the receiver was able to stop the interception. So there was a lot of stuff that was good, but there was an equal amount of plays that were bad. And it's got to get cleaned up. The offensive line's got to get cleaned up. I was giving kudos last week to Austin Jackson. He's making it work, blah, 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 blah. He probably, again, and I'd have to check the stats at PFF, but I'm sure he probably ranked out near the bottom of the National Football League as far as offensive linemen because he absolutely stunk. Now, granted, first week, first game, get it. All right. But you know what, dude? Pull your head out of your rear end, okay, and figure out this game. You went to USC. You were a highly touted player coming out of college. We drafted you, okay, to be our left tackle. You bombed out over there. We had to go get Teron Armstead. Okay. Now we've thrown you over on the right side, and you're still stinking it up. So there's my assessment. And this was on both sides of the ball. You could see there were problems. Were there great players that stepped up and made great plays? Yes, because we have great players. But if we're going to be a championship team and go into the playoffs and have a chance, we got to do a much better job than we did on Sunday.
Exactly. I got to tell you, I want to touch on something on the defense. On that strip sack by Brandon Jones on Mac Jones, I don't think I've ever seen a safety get to the quarterback around the edge like that as fast as Brandon Jones did. That guy is fast.
Yeah. Well, you want to talk about fast? Now, I could be wrong, but I don't think I'm wrong because I remember I pointed it out to John when it happened. The first interception in the end zone that we ran out. Okay. I looked at John as the play was just starting, and I said, Holland's gonna rush. Watch this. It's a blitz by Holland. Holland blitzes, and it was Holland then that got all the way back for the tipped pass and the interception. That kid's fast.
Yeah.
You blitzed, and then the quarterback throws the ball, and you covered 20-something yards in a split second and get back there and get the tipped ball.
You know, if you look at that play on tape, you know, you could make a case where there could have been pass interference called on Xavier Howard.
I thought there was going to be pass interference called.
I thought there was too. I was kind of surprised. But then, you know, I look at it like when you play against the Patriots, turnabout is fair play. There was a play later on where they called, I forget who it was, for roughing the passer or unnecessary roughing.
Yeah, I know.
On the sack of Mac Jones. And whoever it was that got called for it, I'm not sure. I can't remember. But he was on the ground, and I think he was almost facing away from Mac Jones, and he rolled into him from when he landed, and they called it roughing the passer. So turnabout.
Yeah, that was a horrendous call. That was a horrendous call. God, I forgot what I was going to say. I was talking. Oh, I know what I was going to say. You're talking about the Patriots and Bill Belichick, and Chris told me flat out at the end of the game, Belichick, that sore loser, just walked off the field, never met McDaniel at the middle of the field, didn't shake his hand, just walked off.
No, he did. But he met McDaniel at the middle of the field. McDaniel ran out there to shake his hand and greet him. Belichick came over, and it was basically like a feather touch handshake, and he turned and walked away. Poor sport. We expect that from Belichick because he take losing. But Mac Jones, end of the game, he didn't even come over to shake Tua's hand. He ran right off the field.
Oh, okay. So Chris said it was Belichick. He must have meant Mac Jones because Chris told me, he just ran off the field. So okay, Mac, you're an idiot. You're just like your coach. All right. So anything else to add on the recap of Sunday before we bring Bobby in for the fantasy update and predictions for this week in the lineup?
Well, you made a good point. We made a lot of good plays, but there's a lot of stuff to clean up. And the offense is a work in progress, but it's a brand new offense. A lot of new pieces working together. I would like to see Mike Gesicki be able to get a little more involved in the passing game because, he's a phenomenal pass catching tight end. And, Coach McDaniel likes it. Pass catching tight ends. Look what he had with George Kittle in San Francisco. The defense, I think, like you said, up the middle, they couldn't run on us. On the outside, they had some success, not a great amount, but more than they should have, considering the speed that we have.
Yeah.
And, the secondary is the biggest thing that concerns me in the one starting corner spot with Nick Needham. This week, I don't think there's a lot of blazing speed on the Ravens at the outside, so we might survive as far as that not being what kills us in the game if we lose. But week 3 and 4 against Buffalo and Cincinnati, who have tremendous amount of speed and playmakers, we could be in serious trouble if we don't work it out, by then.
Yeah. Well, and I'm gonna say one last thing, because it is a huge pet peeve of mine, and it led to a fairly large gain for the Patriots on Sunday. I don't remember the exact play down and distance or any of that, and I don't even remember the player that made tried to make the tackle. Okay. I don't like these defensive backs and even some of these linebackers that come in and they just want to hit you with their shoulder because they want to make the ESPN highlight reel.
Yeah.
Okay. For the big hit of the week. Tackle the guy.
Yeah.
Put your arms around him, tackle him, take him to the ground, because you coming in and trying to smack him with your shoulders so you can get on the highlight reel. Guess what, dummy? You missed the tackle. The guy got an extra 6 yards.
Yeah, a lot of these guys seem to go away from what they were probably taught when they were in Pop Warner in high school.
We're taught that Pee-wee football.
You got to tackle around the legs. The guy can't move his feet. He can't run.
Right.
Arm tackling works sometimes. Sometimes they break free, as everybody can see when they watch games. Happens every game. Trying to tackle him around the waist, you get spun off. You're on the ground. He's running down the field, waving to you. You leg tackle him. You got to get his legs. You can't run if you can't walk.
Well, I remember I was taught. Now I didn't end up staying on defense for too long. I was a Mike, and I ended up I got back on the other side of the ball and ended up at QB. But I remember being taught very early on how to tackle, and it was you grab the arms, you drive your face mask right into the guy. And that's the proper tackling technique. I see guys on the defensive line, they're doing it. Most of our linebackers do it. Jerome Baker's a perfect example. Jerome Baker wraps his guy up, drives his helmet through him, takes him down. But and it's usually, if you watch any play in the National Football League, and especially in college, okay, it's these defensive backs. It's the safeties and the cornerbacks that are the ones they're afraid to hit somebody for some reason. They want to just like go in there and hit them with their shoulder, and you end up you don't even get the tackle, and the guy goes for a touchdown, or the guy goes for an extra 10 yards before a safety or a linebacker comes over to take him out. So it's just stupid, and I see it way too often. And I'm going to ask Bobby when we bring him on for the fantasy segment what he thinks of that as well. But it's stupid, and you would think, especially even at the college level, they would start teaching these kids, don't do it. But when you get to the pros, I'm telling you, I'm like a Shula type of guy. You do that and cost me a game, I'm going to bench your ass.
Yep.
Okay. If I don't cut you. All right. Let's bring Bobby in. He's got our fantasy picks for the week. He's going to recap fantasy from last week, and he'll bring in a little bit more. There's Bobby. There's the man with the plan and the fantasy guru. How you doing, Bob?
Good morning, guys. How are you?
All right.
Great.
Come on, Bobby.
Not too bad. Two things I want to point out real quick when you're trying to figure out your fantasy team for the week, or who to start, who not to start. Check out the over-under that the Vegas puts out there, because if it's a high game, for example, this week you have the Commanders at the Lions. Over-under is 48.5. That means they're predicting a shootout. And when you have a shootout, you have a good propensity to have players score a lot of points. The other thing you want to watch out for, obviously, is the weather. Because if you're one of those suckers who played Trey Lance last week in Chicago, he got you nothing or very little points because it was just a washout. So just wanted to mention that real quick. Last week, now start with your Dolphins. Tyreek Hill proved his mettle last week. He had receptions, he had yardage. Jalen Waddle had the big play, so that's going to kind of make you think that maybe he's a boomer bust right now, wide receiver that needs a score to really do well for your fantasy teams. And Chase Edmonds, I think, had a decent game. if I'm not mistaken. As far as
Decent.
fantasy.
Him and Mostert both had a fairly decent game, but not highlight reel type numbers.
And that's the problem with having a guy from the San Francisco 49er organization, because they always play a lot of running backs, and it's hard to figure out who's going to be the top dog for that week.
Yeah.
So for this week, I'm looking through the schedule here.
And they also, not to interrupt you, but they also, if you noticed in that game, they used Tyreek Hill an awful lot, just like they used Deebo Samuel in San Francisco.
Yeah, that's a positive. So
Yeah.
that's that's almost getting like a double dip there, because you're getting, especially if he has pretty good jet sweeps where he gets the ball and runs 10, 20 yards and scores, because you're getting a little bit of both there. You're getting points on both sides.
Yeah. Yeah.
So for this week, looking at the schedule, I see a lot of games that have potential and a lot of games that look awful from a fantasy point of view. For example, Jets versus Browns. When the over-under is 39.5, you have to think the Jets' offense is horrible right now, and the Browns really the same thing, unless you have the running backs.
The Jets' offense has been horrible since 1969.
So if you have Chubb or Hunt, definitely start them for the Browns. Colts, Jaguars. I'm one of the lucky guys who in one of my teams I have Michael Pittman, who looks to have a breakout year this year at the wide receiver position. That game can go high on points because the Colts, had that awful tie against the Texans last week.
Yeah.
The Jaguars, maybe they're starting to build something there with Peterson as coach, and they have a lot of weapons. Christian Kirk had a real good game last week, as did James Robinson. Travis Etienne didn't, though. So, it's a crapshoot most weeks. Patriots, Steelers, again, I don't see much there.
And I want to interject here on the Patriots and Steelers. The Patriots they're not the same team that they have been. Okay, no. They've got problems, and it's starting to creep up on them. The talent or the lack of talent that Belichick is able to draft. The Steelers, despite falling behind to the Bengals like they did, end up coming back and winning that game. They are at home against the Patriots, and they are 2-point underdogs. Do you know the Steelers' record with Mike Tomlin when they're a home underdog? It's like 5-1. If anybody thinks that the Patriots are going to go in there and cover, much less win the game, you're nuts. I want to see that bet placed in Las Vegas because the Steelers are going to win that game.
No, exactly. And even though you lost TJ Watt for a few weeks, you know what? The defense as a whole played well against Cincinnati. He was the main guy, but there's a lot of guys who
on both sides of the ball.
Mac Jones better be very aware of Minkah Fitzpatrick.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
One of the greatest trades ever, by the way. Unfortunately for I know the whole teams.
Well,
okay.
You know what? He wasn't going to fit in Flores' system. He was.
Now he's back with Flores in Pittsburgh.
I know. And it's working out. But I'm looking at. I'm thinking that had to be one of the most awkward reunions in the history of football. Flores walks into the building and there's Minkah, and he's like, "Remember me?" All right, take it away, Bobby.
All right, Panthers Giants. Two running backs picked in the I think 1 and 2, right? If I'm not mistaken, in the draft, who probably are the last to do so for a long time because, as you know, running backs can be picked almost anywhere now and have success.
And everybody's doing it by committee.
So now you have two running backs who. McCaffrey didn't have a great game last week, but he did score, which helped him. But, hey, Saquon Barkley, what a game he had last week. And he might be back for real, which will make the Giants a much better team. I know we're excited around here for what happened last week with the Giants with that surprise win.
The Giants looked really good under Dable.
Yeah.
I mean, that team looks totally different right now.
And we missed our top 2 defensive players, too, so that's going to help us if they're back this week. Buccaneers Saints. Now, there's another interesting game there because Tom Brady does not have success against New Orleans. If you look at it, his fantasy points and even his overall production in general, it is down against New Orleans, and they're on the road this week. So that could be a big factor.
But usually Jameis Winston doesn't have success against anybody.
Well,
yeah,
that's true.
I think I have a new Jameis Winston now. We saw it last year, and we saw it in the fourth quarter last week. So hopefully he's on that upward trajectory.
Yeah.
Like I said, Commanders, Lions, very high over/under. Probably a lot of points to be had there if you have any players on those teams. That rookie receiver Dotson looks pretty good for the Commanders.
Yeah, from Penn State. Yep.
Him with McLaurin are a good 1-2 punch there. Seahawks, 49ers. Again, we don't know. With the 49ers, we don't know what we have there because they played in the monsoon last week.
Yeah,
in Chicago.
Right.
Well,
and the Seahawks surprised everybody by jumping out there and beating Denver. So
yeah, that was a big shock, right? No one saw that coming. Nobody saw that coming.
I mean, we're looking at a Seahawks team that, for the most part, everybody's thinking, "Oh my God, they could go 0-17," and they shocked the world with that Monday night win.
Yeah, Rashad Penny had looked great on the ground. Geno Smith, he played more than just a placeholder at quarterback. He made some plays out there.
Yeah, he did.
They said it was probably one of the best games he's ever played.
Oh, absolutely. Falcons, Rams. If you have any of the Rams teams players who were, aside for Cooper Kupp, embarrassed by the Bills in opening Thursday last week or a week and a half ago, this should be a game where you want to play your Rams players because they're playing the Falcons, who can't beat anybody. That could be the worst team in the league this year.
And that was expected. And then, of course, they almost pulled out the victory. There was a few surprises week one.
Mm-hmm. Bengals, Cowboys. Again, that could be a shootout in a certain way, depending on how well Cooper Rush plays.
Yeah.
But you would think Jamar Chase, Dallas defense is And again, I happen to have two Cowboys players on my team, and I'm nervous now because who knows what's going to happen to CeeDee Lamb and that offense. And Elliott, I don't know. I think he's on his way down.
I think his better years have passed him by, and that's sad because he was such a great player. He had so much promise. But I agree with you. I think he's on a downward spiral.
They just keep thinking every year is going to be a bounce back year for him, and it just doesn't seem to happen. I just think the injuries and so many carries in the beginning of his career, they're shortening it, and he's, like you said, I think his better days are behind him.
Yeah. And there's no way he's on the team next year. He has too much of a cap hit, and this is last year.
This is his last year in Dallas. Yeah.
Pollard's ready and waiting.
Now he may end up next year, obviously, with another team, and he may have a bounce back year and be, like a Raheem Mostert or some of these other backs that go to another team and have a great season. I was upset when the Raiders cut Kenyon Drake, but then guess what? We're gonna go play him this week. He's at Baltimore.
Yep. Cardinals, Raiders. Good chance for your Raiders players to get some points because that Cardinals team is a mess.
Total mess.
Total.
They're right there. Let's bring up Coach on the hot seat. Arizona already on the hot seat.
If he starts off bad and usually finishes bad, not a good look. I've seen quite a few projections last week before the season started that had the Cardinals way out. Not even in the playoffs.
Well, so I think I told you all of the National League football writers, they do their annual poll of who they think is going to win the divisions. Arizona did not get one single vote for first place in the NFC West.
Look at the Cardinals. The Cardinals lost Chase Edmonds to us. They lost Christian Kirk, and Hopkins is out for 6 or 7 games, and it didn't look like they did anything to really replace those guys to keep it moving. So, I mean, they have nobody to blame but themselves. Yeah,
they're in bad shape. They just stood there and treaded water.
Texans, Broncos. Now you expect a bounce back game for the Broncos players because they were embarrassed on Monday Night Football.
And a good team to have the bounce back game against too. The Texans suck.
True.
Exactly there. And then Monday night looks like rain in Green Bay for the Bears-Packers. Heated local rival there. They're 90 minutes apart for a drive up there. And, hey, we'll see if the Bears have something or not. This is a game because, like you said before, Aaron Rodgers is not only a big jerk. I don't like him either, but his weapons are
gone.
He doesn't have them.
He doesn't have them right now.
He lost Devontae Adams, and now he has no idea who to throw to, and he doesn't trust either one of the two youngsters.
That's why I'm very befuddled why Odell Beckham Jr. is not considering Green Bay once he's healthy, because he could be the top dog there.
He absolutely could be. But here's the problem with OBJ, okay? He's selfish also. Is he really going to fit in on a team with Aaron Rodgers, who's the king of selfish?
Might be a match made in heaven.
No.
I remember last year I covered the Giants.
More like Ike and Tina.
I remember last year I covered the Giants in the locker room. I think it was his rookie year or his second year in the league. And like he wouldn't talk to the media. Like if the media was in the locker room interviewing players, he'd find a way to sneak around the back and avoid everybody.
And they're not supposed to do that. By their contract states that they are to be available to the media. So you get a guy like OBJ that does that type of stuff, the media will actually hound him more until they finally give up on him. And
he only talk to like the big reporters.
Like
Josina Anderson, the big, not the the little guys or even the beat writers. It had to be like ESPN's top guy or girl, and he would talk to them.
So he's not even talking to the Times or the Post or anybody. It's got to be ESPN, NFL Network, or bust.
Exactly.
Yeah,
that's what I remember from a couple years ago.
Yeah.
All right, have you any questions, guys, about fantasy before I go?
Yeah. Who are you starting? Start or sit this week?
Start or sit. I would start Pittman. Like I said, I'm looking up from my own perspective. Hold on, real quick. I'm missing. Whoop.
Yeah, I want to know your starting lineup as of today.
I'm missing the Bills here. Who do the Bills have? I'm missing the Bills on my schedule here. That's weird.
Well, the Bills are always going to be tough, and I don't have the schedule pulled up in front of me. So
that's funny. I have the CBS Sports schedule in front of me. I don't see the Bills. Oh, they're playing Monday night. Oh, by the way, I found out last night. That's right. They're playing Monday night this week. That's right. There's 2 games.
That's right. This week's
That's right. I'm missing 2. My bad. I'm missing 2 games here. Now, I heard from an insider, one of my guys here at the resort, who is actually moving to Buffalo next week. There is like a huge chance for thunderstorms between 5 o'clock and 11 o'clock Monday night in Buffalo. So that game might even go off as planned. So you have the Bills versus Titans. I would still start Josh Allen.
Yeah.
Because, Daniel Jones almost torched the Titans.
Yeah, and the Titans are in a world of hurt right now. They're in a world of hurt. I think the Titans' best days are behind them. I hate to say it because Rodney, I was so excited for Ryan Tannehill to go down there to Tennessee or go up there to Tennessee and end up being successful and end up taking the starting position.
And he did. Yeah,
they didn't get it done the previous 2 years. They had their opportunities. Ryan's, he ain't no spring chicken anymore.
Well, I think
he could only ride, King Henry for so long.
Well, with the Titans, I think it might be almost time to consider giving Malik Willis a shot to play this year because he's a dual threat. He can throw the ball and he can run. Yeah. And you don't have A.J. Brown to throw to anymore, so you need to find a way to make some new weapons. And Malik Willis has a set of legs on him. I know Tannehill used to run pretty decent, but like you said, he's in his 30s now. Might be time to pass the torch on.
Yeah, that's almost like the front office is like, we don't want this guy anymore. Let's make his life worse by trading A.J. Brown.
Yeah. Exactly.
Oh, I know.
It's almost accelerated the process of getting rid of the guy.
I know.
So I would,
Bobby, your starting quarterback would be Josh Allen. I agree with that.
Josh Allen. My starting wide receiver, you always want to double dip. So you want to go Allen and whoever you have on your team. You want to go.
Yeah, you want to get the double point.
You want to get Gabriel Davis if I would always go double dip there.
Yeah.
Running back wise, I'm liking Saquon Barkley. I think he's healthy again, and he's on a mission because again, we didn't pick up his 5th-year contract, so he's really auditioning for either stay with the Giants or get that last big contract. So I would go Saquon Barkley at running back, along with hey, you know what? J.K. Dobbins could be back for the Ravens this week. I think he has a lot to prove too.
Yeah,
being injured last year.
That could be huge, and that's not good for Miami. And we're gonna get to that here soon. Wide
receiver wise, like I said, Diggs, anybody with your quarterback. Justin Jefferson could be the best wide receiver in the league this year. He had a huge game last week, and Kirk Cousins again, another quarterback pick there. But Justin Jefferson, you want to start every week.
Yeah.
Cooper Kupp, obviously. Like I said before, anybody in that Rams offense, if you have them, play them, especially Cooper Kupp, because
I would say even anybody in the Chiefs offense.
You know what? I have some Chiefs
last night. Yeah.
I had to eke out last night because they didn't really show until really the fourth quarter, and Kelsey was held down. Kelsey was held down to 5 catches, 51 yards. That's not a lot for Kelsey. That's a down day.
No. Yeah.
As far as a tight end, I would look at hey, maybe Hawkinson gets on the back on the positive side of things this week for the Lions, and of course, get back to your Ravens playing your Dolphins. You can't ever discount Mark Andrews.
No. Who do you have for your defense special teams?
You know what? I would stick with the Steelers this week. I think they're going to make.
I like that pick.
I think they're going to make their home. All right, they're going to rally behind T.J. Watt's injury. First home game. I'm dying to go to a game in Pittsburgh. I'm hoping to get to one this year, later in the fall. But they're going to come out mad this week, and they got a chance to go 2-0. And when most predictions had them going 6-11, 7-10 this year.
Yeah, because
they go 2-0.
They
you know
lost
what?
their playmakers. Yeah,
they're gonna show. They're gonna that's gonna be a lot of confidence for them if they go 2-0.
Yeah. Bobby, stay with us now because I want your input on our game. We are on the road against Baltimore. Now we beat the snot out of Baltimore last year, and I don't think a lot of people expected that, and that helped us extend that run, that incredible run. We were the hottest team in the National Football League the last 9 weeks of the season last year. With Kansas City. I don't see us going into Baltimore and playing like we did on Sunday and making this happen. Bobby, give me your take because I see Rodney had to probably reload his coffee. What's your take on the Miami game at Baltimore in week 2?
I'll tell you, it could be one of the games of the week. 2 1-0 teams that came out and had impressive wins last week. I mean, albeit Ravens played the Jets, okay, and the statue is Joe Flacco. But the Dolphins, they took care of a divisional opponent, a hated rival, and like I said, played I thought very well. So this week could be a real. I think it's going to be I don't want to say a defensive game because I think both teams' offenses could show here. I think the secondary is a little bit better than the Jets, obviously, and that could slow down some of the downfield throws for
that Lamar Jackson was hitting.
Lamar Jackson can make, but I think it all depends on how you guys can handle the rush.
I'm interested to see what the game plan is going to be for the Dolphins on both sides of the ball. because I felt against the Patriots that the defensive game plan, I think we made a quick adjustment. By the middle of the second quarter, we had adjusted well, and we came out with the halftime adjustments, and we did that well. But I felt like the offense, and I know it's early in the season, so the offenses are always a little out of sync. Defenses usually stand out a little bit more, at least the first 4 weeks of the season. So I think but here's the thing. This could end up being a very, very defensive game. I mean, we could be looking at a 6-3 snoozer. Technically,
this could be a good game for the under here. I mean,
or it could, yeah. I think it's a great game for the under because both defenses are like really good. The Ravens, they always have a great defense. Their offense is what's questionable sometimes after Flacco's, final days in Baltimore. But I'm sorry to say it. If the Dolphins come out with the same type of somewhat lackluster play and in some of the mental mistakes, I'm going to predict the Ravens win this 17-14.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a lower scoring game. Like you said, that over-under is pretty – I mean, I'm not a betting person myself, but that's pretty enticing right there. Because I think it's going to be a lot of 3-and-outs.
Yeah.
And a couple throws down the field, and that's going to be the difference in the game there.
It's going to come down to the turnover battle. Whoever wins the turnover battle is absolutely going to win this game. And I think
one advantage
+1 or plus or minus 1 in the turnover battle. Whoever gets it, that's the team's going to win.
The slight advantage the Ravens have over the Dolphins is the running game right now. Because again, we don't know what we have yet with Edmonds and Mostert. Yeah. So again, they can show out. So it's a good game. Now they could be this game where they finally get some production here, but right now you have to give the edge for the running game to the Ravens.
Yeah, Rodney, what's your prediction for Sunday at Baltimore?
Well, like you said, we beat up on them pretty good last year in Miami. Lamar Jackson was kind of banged up, and we were already on a hot streak there, so we had the momentum. But I don't know the scores, but if you look at the last 4 games we played in Baltimore, we've gotten pretty much trashed the last 4 times we've been in Baltimore, and we've never been very good at beating Baltimore in Baltimore. No. So I think it's going to be, a back and forth game. I think it's going to probably come down to the Ravens having a lead going into the fourth quarter, say like 21-20, and they find a way to have the ball towards the end of the game, kick a field goal, go up 24-20, and maybe we fall just a little bit short. I hate going against my own team, but
I do too, but I'm a realist.
Until they show me that they can beat Baltimore in Baltimore. And Lamar Jackson, we touched on this last week. People were talking about his arm strength. He looked pretty good to me last week in the highlight reel. And his receivers are questionable. He doesn't have that star power there, but like you guys pointed out too, Mark Andrews is a killer. He kills every team. So they're probably going to utilize him a lot, and then when we least expect it, maybe go down the field, take their shots down the field. And you can't discount Lamar Jackson running. He's a great runner. He's healthy again. So our defense has to really be at the top of our game. But their defense, although it's always pretty good, they might still be without Marcus Peters. I haven't heard any update, but I know he's still pretty banged up, which
I don't think he's going to play. I mean, I'll be surprised if he does.
And I think they're still missing the one lineman, Staley. I think he's still banged up. I know J.K. Dobbins is probably going to play. He's been full participant in practice this week. But again, it'll be his first real contact game back since he got hurt. So, we'll see if he can take the pounding. And, one thing I would like to see, I think last week against the Patriots, we had 3 tight ends active, Gesicki, Smythe, and Hunter Long. We weren't really using the tight end very much. I would make only 2 tight ends active and activate an extra receiver and give Eric Ezukama a chance. He was phenomenal in preseason.
Yeah, or activate another defensive back just so we have a little bit of extra depth while we're still missing Byron Jones.
Look forward to seeing my man Cater Kahoo.
Absolutely. Well, guys, we gone a little over, so I know everybody's busy. We got a lot of stuff to do, and we're live again. So Just want to thank everybody. Thank you guys for coming on. Bobby, thanks for producing the show again. Great job. Rodney, as always, good to see you again. And there was no gorilla sightings last week. That's an inside joke. And I'm Brad Michaels for DolFan Radio, along with Rodney Quick and Bobby Blackjack with our fantasy guru. Thanks for listening and watching, and we'll see you next week, hopefully with another check mark in the W column.
Fins up.
Take care.
All right, guys.